And welcome back to another daily devotion. I'm Pastor Roy here at Woodlawn Christian Church in Lake City, Iowa, and this devotion is for Friday, June 9th of 2023. We are in the book of 2 Corinthians, and today we are going to finish chapter 10. We're going to look at verses 13 to 18 in chapter 10 of 2 Corinthians. But then tomorrow, Monday, I will be starting on my sabbatical for a month. So we will have a bit of a break and we won't get to chapter 11 until July 17th. So I apologize for a little bit of a break in service, so to say, but we'll be back. We'll get back to it. We will finish 2 Corinthians, but we won't get back to it until July 17th. So there'll be a bit of a wait for me to post another one of these devotions. Actually, I'll be putting up the sermon, several sermons actually this weekend to get caught up to Sunday, and then there'll be a break until I get back. The next sermon I will do will be the 16th of July. So after this Sunday. So with that, let's take a look at verses 13 to 18 in chapter 10. Remember that chapter 10, the Revised Standard Version, which is the translation I'm using for this study, the RSV calls this Paul defends his ministry. Okay, so let's take a look at these verses. But we will not boast beyond limit, but will keep to the limits God has apportioned us, to reach even to you. For we are not overextending ourselves as though we did not reach you. We were the first to come all the way to you with the gospel of Christ. We do not boast beyond limit in other men's labors, but our hope is that as your faith increases, our field among you may be greatly enlarged, so that we may preach the gospel in lands beyond you without boasting of work already done in another's field. Let him who boasts boast of the Lord, for it is not the man who commends himself that is accepted, but the man whom the Lord commends. Okay. Apparently, there's some folks who've come in and they are perhaps, we'll talk about that in chapter 11 more so, but they are putting themselves above Paul. They're elevating themselves above Paul. And so Paul's kind of coming after folks that boast here. Do not boast beyond limit, but we will not boast beyond limit. He's not going to play in that game, but he is kind of, in a way. But what he's pointing out, though, is that anything that he has, anything that any of us preach to anyone, comes from the Lord. It doesn't come from um, what I want to say, charisma, our own persona is the word I want. It's not our persona that is the thing. We may be, there are those that are flashy and pretty and all of that preach and look very, 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 very much almost a Hollywood type of a thing. And I've never been a big fan of that thing where the pastor is all about the pastor, the preacher, or what have you, because it's not about who is the leader. It's about who is the God, who is our God, and our God is Christ Jesus. And so that's what it's about. We do not boast beyond limit. We're just human beings. We're all very much limited in our abilities, but He is unlimited. God is. So we keep to our limits, but we keep to the limits that God has apportioned to us. We know that God's limits are endless, boundless. And it's not about us saying who we are. It's about us saying who God is. That's the important part. Um, but here Paul wants to. He has spent a lot of time with them. He reminds them that they were the first ones to bring the message of Christ to them. Again, he's done that a couple of times throughout these two letters. But he reminds them out of it again, and he reminds them that he's still wanting to go beyond them. He's currently not there with them, but he still has that desire to get on to Spain, as we've talked about before in other books. But so he's kind of alluded to that there, I think, when he says that that we may preach the gospel in lands beyond you. So he is feeling very much called to do that. That's what he's feeling like he's supposed to be. And of course, we know that Paul doesn't most likely get to Spain, but we don't know for sure. We don't know really exactly what happened to Paul. But church lore would tell us that he dies in Rome under Nero. So, With that, I'm going to let you go for now. This is a very short one. We just kind of could have taken this one together with what we did yesterday, but didn't want to jump into chapter 11. And to keep at least that artificial break that it is. The chapters are not necessarily, they were not there to begin with. Those were added later, and so were the verses even added later than the chapters. But I'm trying to keep it so that we, at least in our mindset, have a clean break there for when we come back. So we will see you on July 17th. Have a very blessed time while I'm away. Pray for me that I have a restful sabbatical, and I'm going to try to spend a bunch of time in study and learning and reading. That's kind of my goal. Is to spend a lot of time sitting outside in God's nature and doing some study. Have a blessed day. Have a blessed one. Be a blessing to someone today. All right. Take care.